Some players rise in big moments, but others shrink under the pressure. There's no doubt that Djokovic and Nadal are known to be the two most clutch players ever. It was almost mathematical that in high pressure moments they raised their level and gave you nothing for free. With Federer, the narrative around him isn't that clear. Some heartbreaking losses from winning positions made fans question. So today, with numbers, examples, let's find out the answer to the question. Was Roger Federer actually clutch? Let's start with a very interesting stat that Federer himself pulled out in a recent speech. In his career, Federer won 82% of the matches he played. But the percentage of total points he won will surprise you.
What percentage of points do you think I won in those matches? Only 54%. In other words, even top-ranked tennis players win barely more than half of the points they play.
So with this simple stat, we can see that by definition, Federer played the big points very well. The 30-olds, the break points, the tie breaks, these are the moments that make the difference. In the all-time ranking of percentage of tie breaks won, Federer is number 1 on the list, with 65.4% of his tie breaks won, just above Djokovic, who has 64%, a very good indicator of performance under pressure. That ticks a very big box in his favor to answer the question of the video. Now let's go to the biggest events, the Grand Slam tournaments. As you know, Federer has won 20 of these, so let's check out in how many of these 20 Federer found himself in extremely high pressure situations. For this list, we're gonna count being match point down, being 2 sets to love or 2 sets to 1 down, facing break points in a 5th set, or a final set tiebreak. And also, let's check out in how many of these situations he had in his favor and he didn't win the match. Federer's first 4 Grand Slam titles were won in dominant fashion. Only one 5-set match required against Agassi in the US Open, but no high-pressure situation of the ones I mentioned before in that match. The first match that had one of these came at the 2005 Australian Open semi-final, facing the Russian Marat Safin. Federer was leading by 2 sets to 1 and a double mini breakup in the 4th set tiebreak. Definitely a very favorable position to win the match. He also had a match point on his serve, but lost quite an epic point and ended up losing the tiebreak. He ended up losing 9-7 in the 5th set, so we gotta give Roger 0-1. Next 3 Grand Slams won, again in very dominant fashion, and no loss in this period where he was in a dominant position. Wimbledon 2007, Federer has cruised through the draw, but in the final, against an improved Nadal on grass, at 1-1 in the 5th set, Federer faces 2 break points, but he saves them and goes on to win the set by 6-2. Winning his 5th consecutive Wimbledon title. Australian Open 2008. Federer finds himself 2 sets to 1 down against Janko Tipsarevic, but he comes back to win 10-8 in the 5th set. Wimbledon 2008. After being 2 sets to love down, Federer comes back in quite miraculous fashion, winning an epic 4th set tiebreak to force the 5th set. In the 5th, he earns a break point, but Nadal saves it, giving him pretty much no chance, and then wins the match 9-7, in what many call the greatest match in the history of tennis. Australian Open 2009. Federer is down 2 sets to love against Thomas Berdych, but he digs deep, roaring back to win in 5 sets. French Open 2009. After the shocking first defeat of Nadal in Roland Garros, which is added pressure for Federer, the next day Federer goes down 2 sets to love against Tommy Haas. 2 sets to love and a break point that could make Tommy Haas serve for the match. Federer saves it, momentum shifts, and Federer dominates the rest of the match. Semi-finals, Federer again is on the ropes. 2 sets to 1 down against Juan Martín del Potro. Again, he digs deep and ends up winning the match in 5. 2 key victories for his one and only Roland Garros title. Wimbledon Final 2009. Federer faces 2 break points at 8-all in the 5th set. He saves them and ends up winning 16-14 in the deciding set, taking over the Grand Slam record, winning a 15th Grand Slam title. US Open Final 2009. Federer is 2-1 up against Juan Martín del Potro, but he ends up losing in 5 sets. First round of Wimbledon 2010. Federer is 2-0 down against Alejandro Falla, in what would have been one of the biggest shocks in tennis history. Falla even serves for the match in the 4th, but Federer gets out of jail and ends up winning in 5. (2010) US Open semi-final. Federer has 2 match points on the return to beat Djokovic in the 5th set. Djokovic saves both in brave fashion and then wins the match. A huge win for his self-belief, and that had a big impact in their rivalry. Wimbledon 2011 quarterfinal. Federer is 2-0 up against Jo-Wilfried Tsonga, but the Frenchman delivers the comeback and gives Federer his first loss at a Grand Slam, being 2-0 up. Just 2 months later, in the US Open semi-final, Federer loses another match from 2-0 up, this time against Novak Djokovic. A heartbreaking defeat after having 2 match points on his serve in the 5th set. The second Grand Slam match where Djokovic saved match points against Federer. 2012 French Open. Federer is 2-0 down against Juan Martín del Potro, but he delivers the comeback against a Del Potro that ended up struggling physically. 1 month later at Wimbledon, Federer is again 2-0 down, this time against the Frenchman Julien Benneteau. He delivers the comeback and then went on to win the tournament. 2013 French Open. In the 4th round, Federer is 2-1 down against Gilles Simon. He comes back to win in 5. Wimbledon Final 2014. Federer has a break point in the 5th set. Djokovic saves it and ends up winning the match. One of the greatest Wimbledon finals ever. 2014 US Open quarterfinals. Federer is 2-0 down against Gael Monfils. The Frenchman even has 2 match points in the 4th set. Federer saves them and comes back to win in 5. 2016 Wimbledon quarterfinals. Federer is 2-0 down against Marin Cilic. He comes back, saving multiple match points in the 4th set in one of his greatest comebacks. However, his next match against Milos Raonic in the semi-finals, despite being 2-1 up, he ends up losing in 5, getting injured in the process. Australian Open 2017. After being 6 months away from the tour, Federer comes back as clutch as ever. In the semi-finals against Stan Wawrinka, he is breakpoint down in the 5th set. He saves it, breaks Wawrinka in the next game, and wins the 5th by 6-3. Next match, Federer is again on the ropes. Against his great rival Rafael Nadal, he has a breakdown in the 5th set. But after all his history of heartbreaks against Nadal, Federer finds the inner belief, goes all in on his attacking tennis, and turns the set around to win 6-3 in the decider. Under the circumstances, the most clutch tennis of his career. The next year, again in the final, Federer goes to a deciding 5th set, this time against Marin Cilic. First game of the decider, and Federer faces 2 break points. He saves them and then dominates the set, winning his 20th Grand Slam title. 2018 Wimbledon. Federer is 2-0 up against Kevin Anderson. The South African saves a match point in the third set and ends up winning 13-11 in the fifth set. 2019 Wimbledon. Federer breaks Djokovic at 7-0 in the fifth set, serves for the match, goes up 40-15, and we all know what happened. A tense miss on the first match point, a Djokovic passing shot in the second, Djokovic breaks, also saves break points at 11-0, and ends up winning at the 12-hole deciding tiebreak. That year at the US Open, in the quarterfinals, Federer is up 2-1 against Grigor Dimitrov, but ends up losing in 5 with physical struggles. 2020 Australian Open. Federer goes to distance with a man that had beaten him in the past, the Aussie John Millman. The match goes to a 5th set tiebreak, and Federer is 8 points to 4 down. In miraculous fashion, he goes on to win the next 6 points to win the match. A win of epic proportions. In the quarterfinals, Federer goes down 2-1 against the American Tennis Sandgren. The American has 7 match points in the 4th set, but Federer again gets out of jail, and with the momentum on his side, he dominates the 5th set, the second miraculous win of the tournament. Wimbledon 2021, the last tournament of Federer's career. In the first round, he is down by 2-1 against Mannarino. Unfortunately, the Frenchman gets injured and has to retire after losing the 4th set. So being fair, let's leave this match out. So overall, since Federer became a Grand Slam contender, in matches where he found himself in extremely high pressure situations, he won 17 and lost 11, a winning percentage of 60%. And if we want to get a little more specific, in 6 of his 20 Grand Slam titles, Roger was very close to defeat at least once throughout the tournament, which includes his most important title at Roland Garros. But in 8 occasions, we've seen Federer in a winning position in the semi-final or final of the tournament, and he ended up losing. Winning the semis obviously doesn't guarantee the title, but it definitely gives him a good chance. But if you want to stretch it a little bit more, in Grand Slam finals, Federer has won 3 matches where he was very close to defeat. On the other hand, he's lost 4 of them where he was very close to victory. So, to answer the question, is Roger Federer clutch? Numbers clearly tell you he's one of the most clutch players in tennis history. He does have arguably the most heartbreaking loss in tennis history in that Wimbledon final, which being at the latest stages of his career, that's what left a bittersweet taste to many, but when you look at the bigger picture, you realize that looking at these few moments where he didn't play well, don't do justice whatsoever to the dozens and dozens of times he has played well under huge pressure. So that was it for the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and would like to enjoy more original tennis content of this style, hit the subscribe button and that way you will know when I upload future videos like this one. All of this said, I hope you have a wonderful day and that I can see you in my next video. Peace!